The most dangerous thing about the American frontier was not the wolves. It was not the bears. It was not even the outlaws. The real danger was waking up one morning and realizing, you were completely alone. No police station just minutes away. No ambulance. No grocery store around the corner. No phone to call for help. And if a brutal winter storm trapped your family inside for weeks, there was only one question that mattered. Did you prepare before it was too late? Imagine this. It is the middle of winter. The wind is screaming outside. Snow is piling against the door. The nearest town is days away, and the trail behind you has disappeared beneath ice and snow. Your firewood is running low. Your food supplies are shrinking. Someone in the family is sick, and there is absolutely no one coming to rescue you. For frontier families, this was not a movie. This was real life. And here is the shocking part. Many of the skills that helped ordinary families survive those impossible conditions have almost completely disappeared. Today, most people have more technology than ever before. We have smartphones, supermarkets, GPS, electric heat, running water, and emergency services. But take those things away for just a few days, and how many people would actually know what to do? Could you keep your family warm? Could you make your food last? Could you find safe water? Could you repair something important instead of simply replacing it? Or would you discover, just like thousands of people before you, that modern convenience has made us forget the skills our ancestors considered normal? Because frontier families didn't survive by being superheroes. They survived because they knew things that nobody bothers teaching anymore. They knew how to prepare. Before the storm arrived, they knew how to stretch a small amount of food for days. They knew how to protect a home when the weather turned deadly. They knew how to read the land, repair what was broken, work with their neighbors, and adapt when everything went wrong. And some of these forgotten survival skills are so simple that you may wonder why we ever stopped teaching them. But here is where this story gets even more interesting. The deeper you go into these 17 forgotten survival skills, the more you begin to realize that the frontier was not just a place in American history. In many ways, it was the ultimate survival test. One mistake could cost a family their supplies. One bad storm could change everything. One forgotten skill could mean the difference between making it through the winter or facing a disaster with no help on the way. So stay with us until the end, because the final survival skill may be the most important one of all. It wasn't a tool, it wasn't a weapon, and it wasn't something you could buy. It was a way of thinking that helped frontier families survive when the world around them stopped cooperating. And you might be surprised by how useful it still is today. As we uncover these forgotten secrets, ask yourself one question. If you were suddenly transported back to the American frontier with your family, how long would you last? Would you survive one night, 1 week, or would the first serious problem catch you completely unprepared? You are about to find out. And before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Ethan Cross for more forgotten stories, hidden survival secrets, and incredible lessons from the past. And I have one question for you. Where in the world are you watching this video from? Drop your asterisk, city, state, or country in the comments below. I want to see just how far the Ethan Cross community reaches. Now, take a deep breath, because the first forgotten survival skill may be something you use every single day, without realizing how powerful it truly is. Imagine waking up tomorrow with no electricity, no running water, no grocery stores, no phone signal, and no emergency services coming to help. For millions of frontier families, that was not a disaster scenario. That was everyday life. The American frontier was beautiful, but it was also unforgiving. Winters could trap families for months. Illness could strike when the nearest doctor was days away. Food could disappear. Storms could destroy homes, and one bad decision could turn into a fight for survival. Yet frontier families endured. They survived because they understood skills that most people today have never been taught. These were not complicated survival techniques. They were practical habits passed from parents to children, built through experience, observation, and necessity. Here are 17 forgotten survival skills frontier families used to stay alive. The first skill was knowing how to make fire in almost any condition. Fire was more than warmth. It meant cooked food, boiled water, light, protection, and a chance to survive freezing temperatures. Frontier families learned to keep dry tinder protected, collect wood before storms arrived, and maintain their fire instead of waiting until the last ember died. The second skill was storing food for the long term. A successful harvest meant very little if food spoiled before winter. Families dried meat, preserved fruits and vegetables, smoked food, and stored crops in cool places. They understood that survival depended not only on finding food, but on making it last. The third skill was finding and protecting clean water. Rivers and springs could provide water, but they could also carry disease. Frontier families often collected water from reliable sources and used boiling as one way to make questionable water safer. They also learned an important lesson that many people forget today. Water must be secured before a crisis becomes desperate. The fourth skill was reading the weather. There were no weather apps or emergency alerts. People watched clouds, wind, temperature, animal behavior, and changes in the sky. A sudden drop in temperature or darkening clouds could mean it was time to gather supplies, bring animals closer, or prepare the home. The fifth skill was repairing instead of replacing. A broken tool could be a serious problem when the nearest town was far away. Frontier families repaired handles, patched clothing, fixed roofs, sharpened tools, and reused materials whenever possible. They understood that almost everything had value. The sixth skill was growing food close to home. Gardens were not hobbies. They were survival systems. Families planted crops they could eat fresh, preserve, or store through the winter. Seeds were valuable, and knowledge about when and where to plant was often passed down through generations. The seventh skill was understanding shelter. A strong home was designed around survival. Families paid attention to wind, drainage, heat, and available materials. They sealed gaps before winter, repaired roofs before storms, and used natural materials to reduce heat loss. The eighth skill was keeping emergency supplies without calling them emergency supplies. Frontier families simply kept useful things on hand. Extra food, dry firewood, preserved goods, tools, cloth, and other necessities were part of daily life. Their preparedness was not based on fear. It was based on experience. The ninth skill was knowing the land. Families learned where water could be found, which paths became dangerous during storms, where useful materials grew, and which areas should be avoided. This knowledge could make the difference between becoming lost and finding the way home. The 10th skill was working with neighbors. The frontier created strong communities because no family could do everything alone. Neighbors helped build homes, harvest crops, respond to fires, and care for families during difficult times. One of the most forgotten survival skills was knowing when to ask for help and when to give it. The 11th skill was making clothing last. Clothing was expensive and difficult to replace. Families patched holes, repaired shoes, layered garments, and reused fabric. A warm coat could mean the difference between comfort and danger during a harsh winter. The 12th skill was protecting food from animals and spoilage. Food had to be stored carefully. Rodents, insects, moisture, and changing temperatures could destroy precious supplies. Families learned to keep storage areas clean, dry, organized, and protected. The 13th skill was knowing how to use simple tools well. An axe, knife, shovel, saw, and other basic tools could support an entire household. Frontier families learned proper maintenance because a damaged tool could become useless at exactly the wrong moment. The 14th skill was using daylight wisely. Without electric lighting, the sun controlled much of the daily schedule. Important work was planned around available daylight. Chores were organized, supplies were prepared early, and darkness was respected rather than ignored. The 15th skill was staying calm during hardship. This may have been one of the most important survival skills of all. Frontier life constantly presented problems. A broken wagon, a failed crop, a severe storm, or an unexpected illness could change everything. Panic wasted energy. Calm thinking created options. The 16th skill was teaching children useful skills early. Children often learned how to gather wood, care for animals, grow food, repair simple items, and recognize danger. Knowledge was not treated as entertainment. It was part of becoming capable. And the 17th forgotten survival skill was self-reliance combined with adaptability. Frontier families could not expect life to follow a perfect plan. They learned to change plans when conditions changed. If one food source failed, they looked for another. If weather destroyed part of the shelter, they repaired it. If a journey became dangerous, they reconsidered the route. That may be the greatest lesson the frontier left behind. Survival was rarely about one dramatic moment or one secret trick. It was built through hundreds of small decisions made before disaster arrived. Keep your supplies ready. Learn how things work. Pay attention to the weather. Take care of your tools. Know your surroundings. Build relationships with people you trust. Today, modern technology makes life easier in ways frontier families could never imagine. But convenience can also make us forget how much knowledge once lived in ordinary homes. The old skills have not disappeared because they stopped being useful. Many disappeared because we stopped needing to practice them every day. But when systems fail, when power goes out, when travel becomes impossible, or when help is far away, the lessons of the frontier suddenly become relevant again. The question is not whether you can live exactly like a frontier family. The question is this: how many of these forgotten survival skills do you still know? Because somewhere between the convenience of modern life and the hard lessons of the past are skills that may still be worth remembering. And as Ethan Kross always says, every old story carries a secret. Sometimes that secret is exactly what helped people stay alive.